What's going on, everyone? I'm Jeff St. Pierre, and this is episode 163 of the Adult Education Podcast. Today, we have former professional soccer player and the founder of the Pitch Performance, Billy Harte. So I've got something a little bit different for you this week. This conversation you're about to hear was never really meant for this podcast. I had met Billy Harte randomly at a coffee shop in Towson, Maryland. You'll hear more of this story during the conversation. He told me a little bit about his company, and I thought it was really interesting, even in the few minutes that we had a chance to talk. So I invited him to come by my radio station so we could do a feature of sorts on his company. My goal was to highlight a local business creator and a local person doing something cool in the Baltimore area. Now, the day after Billy came by and recorded this conversation, I was let go by my company. It's that time of year, unfortunately. My former company does a lot of layoffs as they get into the fourth quarter of the year. Unfortunately, my number was called this year, and it's a bummer, but I'm going to be okay. I don't want to harp on this. And at first, I was worried that I lost this conversation because it was on my work computer that I was instantly locked out of, but I was thankfully able to get my hands on it. I just felt like this chat needed to get out into the world. So while it was not meant for the Adult Education Podcast, here we are. And I do think that there's a lot of really cool stuff in this conversation that is very fitting for what I do with this show. Billy Harte is a former professional soccer player who spent decades working in the soccer universe. But this year, he launched his own clothing brand called the Pitch Performance. You'll learn more about the brand in the conversation. I wanted to learn more about Billy's journey. How did he get to founding his own company? What are all the moving pieces to make this kind of thing happen? And is there a space for a new brand in the soccer world when companies like Adidas, Nike, and Under Armour seem to be dominating? I think you'll really enjoy this chat. There's a lot of great information in here, especially for people who may be thinking about trying something new or launching your own brand. So please enjoy my conversation with Billy Harte. First of all, thank you so much for coming in.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me here today.
I'll give you the background here. I was at a coffee shop and wearing a European soccer team's t-shirt, which I bought on my trip to Portugal. And it's funny, every time I wear that shirt, someone comments about it, which to me, I was like, I've never even heard of this team before I bought the shirt, but now everywhere I go. So anyway, Bill comes up to me and he's like, hey, do you know soccer? And we strike up this conversation and you start telling me about this company that you've just built. And I was like, this is kind of a fascinating story. I want to bring you in to share it with anybody else who wants to listen. So tell me a little bit first, your background, Bill, in the sports industry, the sports apparel industry. How do we even get to a place where you are creating your own brand?
Yeah, it's, God, where do I begin? So I've been involved in the sport since I was 9 years old.
Soccer is the sport we're talking about.
Yeah, of course. And played rec, travel, fortunate enough to go on and play college, and then went on to play professionally as well, both, in the MLS for the Revolution.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What years were you there?
That was... God, this is going back 96 to 97.
So like the very beginning, really.
Yeah, year two. Yeah. The league has come a long way. Way different back then.
You're the old Foxborough. I grew up in that area, the old Foxborough Stadium. Yeah, I went to a few Revolution games, so I might have even seen you play and not even remember this. It's been so long.
You probably didn't see me play. I didn't play a whole lot, but
it's still cool though.
Yeah, I was on the team, but I started off there. I ended up getting traded down to Tampa Bay, which doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah. Now I'm starting to show my age. And
well, they went through a lot of ebbs and flows in the MLS. There's a lot of teams that no longer exist, or at least the team name has changed.
Yep. So so from there, I was released and then picked up by the Columbus Crew, and at that point, was like, you know what, maybe being a pro isn't the way to go. And fortunately, I had become very friendly with a guy that was worked for Adidas Soccer in sports marketing, and was like, hey, you know what you do is pretty cool, and I'd love to still be involved in the sport, just from a different perspective. Yeah. So fortunately for me, I was able to, let's call it an early retirement. And I started working for, as they say it overseas properly, Adidas, not Adidas.
Yes.
And so I started off there in sports marketing, working with some of the MLS partners, grassroots, kind of a combination of things. But was fortunate enough to kind of parlay that into a sales role. And so for literally 19 years, I worked for, arguably the number one sports brand when it comes to soccer, on the planet, dealing in the soccer specialty space, and did that for quite some time. And I'm going along here in my journey, but
no, you're okay.
To get to this point.
Yeah.
So from there, left, and then became a partner in what was my largest account called Angelo Soccer Corner, or soccercorner.com.
Sure, yeah.
So I was on the retail side for a few years. we ended up selling the business to a VC group. At that point, I had to make a decision. So funny enough, Nike came knocking on my door, the enemy for so many years. And so I took that position and was there for roughly 2.5 years. But this brand itself really came to mind or started about 4.5 years ago when I was with Angelo Soccer Corner. And it's kind of interesting. I was just sitting on a couch one day and just always thinking about the industry and the business, like where are there things missing and where's there's opportunity. And it just kind of came to me saying, there's nobody right now addressing a certain market on the apparel side and soccer specialty. And then kind of went through that kind of exercise in my mind, like, okay, well, what is that and what does that look like? And it was kind of like this whole kind of concept where it was performance-based and athleisure. As I'm sitting there, and it wasn't all that day, but like as this kind of went in, I'm like, you got to come up with a really cool name. The pitch, obviously, probably used 1 million times a day, whether you turn on television, you're reading an article.
Sure.
Globally, that's what the sport is known for. Okay, check that box. And that's kind of where it started. And then while working for Angelo's and then working for Nike, just really was working on this strategy and this business behind the scenes for a long time. And was fortunate enough along the way to have some really good partners that came on board and then some solid investment. And once all that was locked in, this past February was when I had to make the decision to finally really go for it. But yeah, the journey is just beginning, but in the sense that we've just kind of really launched, but I've been literally at this for 4 years. So there's been a lot of time, effort, money, energy to get behind this thing. And so yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a long road ahead of us.
It seems like quite a journey so far. I have to laugh about the phrase "the pitch" because I know I wouldn't say I'm a soccer expert, but I played a lot when I was younger, even into my adult years, for some rec teams here and there, just for some fun. But you hear the phrase "the pitch" not so much on an American level, but it's more used in Europe and other countries. And I was interviewing Hal Hirschfeld from the Washington Spirit, and I said, "When you're on the pitch," and she started laughing, and I was like, "What?" She's like, "Nobody says the pitch here," and I was like, "I know, I'm trying to sound soccer cool." Like I want you to feel like I know what I'm talking about, but she was laughing about it. It's kind of funny. But I do love the name because I do think it embodies soccer. I think it is such a soccer phrase. I think that's smart. But let's go back a little bit here because, you were working on the sales side, working very involved in these different companies. What's your background in, I guess, what's your background designing? I mean, you had this idea, you saw a hole in the market, but are you a designer? Did you have to call designers to get to work on this? Yeah, no, I mean, being around the space for so long, I mean, you're selling in product to these retailers, you're touching and feeling it, all the time. You're selling in per quarter, and that's both footwear, that's apparel, that's hard goods. But being in, even since I was 8 years old, like what the customer wants, what they're looking for, what they're craving, and then especially when I owned the retail stores, I watched people's buying habits when they would come in. When were they frustrated? Were they looking for certain things? And would they walk gravitating to? Walk out empty-handed. And really what made this all come together, and not to dive too deep into it, but the problem is we're on this hamster wheel, and I'll get on the point of the design and all that stuff, because I do have a partner, Jen, who I did bring on board. She owns a factory in Wyoming. That's a whole nother story. Yeah, sure. She's an expert in that. Maybe I'm going in too many different directions here, but the whole thing is interesting. And so over the 20, 30 years that I was in the space, there's only been 3 defining moments in apparel where there's been this demand, where people have walked through the door craving and wanting something. And this is going to go back, and this is going to again show my age. And again, I was that journey. So in the 80s, you had the Umbro checkered short. Sure. Yes. Okay. I had many pair of those. I had probably maybe 8 colors. Yeah. Then you went into the 90s, and you had what was called the Adidas equipment line. A guy named Rob Strauss who really started Nike with Phil Knight. It's an amazing story. He ended up working for Adidas and unfortunately passed away in his mid-50s. So he created this incredible equipment line that was super elevated. I, again, had that product as a soccer player. Then comes Kevin Plank with compression, and Under Armour. And literally, other than those 3 moments in soccer, that's it. And that's ridiculous. So if you think about Kevin with compression, that was 30 years ago almost. So here I am as a rep, going in and selling into these retailers, and all I constantly was hearing over all those years is like, I need something that's going to drive people back into the store. Something new, something fresh. Yes. And so what's happened is, and
it's this kind of vicious cycle where, all right, so Kevin Plank, that was 30 years ago, but during that time, the product that's being sold into these retailers is what we call licensed. It's either clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, Barcelona, or it's Federation, Germany, Argentina. And what's happening is, and this is all fact-based that I'm telling you, by the way.
Okay.
So if I'm sitting here with somebody that's been in the industry working for a major brand, they're going to say he's actually correct. As these brands continue to sign these crazy deals with these clubs, so Adidas basically just lost Germany to Nike for an insane amount of money. I mean, think about that. Adidas is probably rolling in his grave, right? Insane amount of money. Nike just renews with Barcelona. Liverpool just leaves Nike to go to Adidas. And the amount of money being spent on this is just insane. So what the brands are forced to do is you have to get an ROI on that, okay?
Yeah.
You sign it. Well, the only way to get your ROI on that is you have to sell more licensed product. All right, so now if I'm working for Nike at the time, I'm going in and selling product to a retailer. 96 to 97% of my product when I'm selling in is licensed product. Because why? Because we as a brand have to justify that ROI. So the SKU counts keep going up. So I'm going in, forcing the retailer. The retailer is going, I can't take any more of this. My store, 95% of my store is licensed. I'm asking you to give me something different, but you keep giving me the same stuff. The brands don't have a choice because the clubs and the federations are driving the discussion. It then bounces down to the brand. The brand now bounces down to the retailer. The retailer is forced to bring that product in, year out. Your experience as a consumer when you walk through the door, and if I took you in my former store, it's 360 degrees of licensed product. So you as a consumer go in there and go, well, yeah, it all looks the same from the year prior and the year after that, other than there's updates on silhouette.
Minimal changes, yeah.
So that, to me, again, is the driver behind this. I'm like, I can get you off this hamster wheel so you're not having the retailer or there's something new and different. And going back to my comment earlier, it's been 30 years that somebody walks through the door and goes, by the way, do you have this? Finally, it is my hope that they go, do you have the pitch or the pitch performance in here? It is different. It's elevated. It's nicer fabric. It's similar.
Yeah, because you touched on this a second ago when we were first laying everything out.
Yeah.
What is What is the major change? What is the difference between what you're doing and what you've seen from other people?
Yeah.
Like, let's go into that a little bit more.
So the apparel that you're seeing that's not licensed is, if you take a Tiro pant from Adidas, I think they're on like the Tiro 15 at this point.
Sure.
But I went through this exercise. I went through and looked at their training pant and said, okay, over the last 15 years, what's different about this pant? They moved the stripe here.
Right.
Maybe they cut a little bit, but like same colors, navy black, move the stripe, whatever, but it's the same product. And now you take that with quarter zips, full zip jackets, all this stuff. There's nothing, I don't say not that it's innovated. It's fit, design, material that's elevated. So like you're so used to going in and seeing that $60, $70 pant over and over again. To the brands, they're just like, is it worth the squeeze to make this investment where if they move the needle and in this space that I'm playing in now, which is I call it a tweener between athleisure and performance, say the market's 100 million. Is that worth them to take the time, invest in it? I mean, we gotta unwind people's brains here because they're so used to getting this pant or this item, kind of the same thing over and over again, willing to pay more money for it, see the value in it, and do it. Where if Nike, they can do a run of dunks with a pigeon on it and sell it for X number of pairs,
right?
And do SMU product, special makeup product, and make up that number. It's a volume play. It doesn't. Where me, I'm like, you know what? If it's $100 million market in this space within soccer, yeah, I'd love to do it and go for it. So it's elevated. The best way to sum it up, we're kind of like the Lululemon of soccer.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, color, style, but it's not innovation. It's how we're positioning the brand. It's the colors of our products. It's the material of it. When you touch it, and one of my investors best said it, he goes, I feel like going into a soccer store and seeing your product would almost be like Hugo Boss and a Marshalls.
Okay.
It's like, it almost...
That's putting into perspective.
Yeah, he's like, it almost would look out of place. That's a good thing though.
Because you want it to stand out. Like you want to be different. You don't want to blend in with all the other jackets and quarter zips or whatever at these places.
Yes, exactly.
You want people to walk in and have their eyes go, all right, let's go check out that display.
Something finally new and different, because if we don't do this 5, 6, 8, 10 years down the road, if I was to walk in that store, it's going to be the same thing. So everybody's asking for it. Nobody's willing to make the attempt to do it. I'm that individual. So,
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. Exactly. So, and to get validation when I've talked to other people in the space, guys that either I competed with that work for major brands or even some of the largest retailers, when you show the line and they see it, they're like, these comments are like, finally, yes, it's unique, it's different. Like, yes, finally somebody's willing to make this attempt. But
it is intriguing because I'm thinking about, like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I went to Europe, we did Spain and we did Portugal, and going into the different stores of the particular teams, like Valencia CF, or I'm wearing the sweatshirt right now, or Real Betis in Sevilla, and then we did Benfica, and you're walking through the stores, and it's like I saw the same exact store 3 different times with just 3 different team names on the shirts. So hearing you talk about this, I'm picturing, visualizing back in that, and I'm like, wow, he's right. Like there really isn't that much innovation. The logos are different, but all of the clothes are exactly the same.
yes.
Across the board. And I remember going into each store saying, like, I would like I want something different. Like I don't want to have the same boring t-shirt. And so now I'm sitting here like, I wish we had something like the pitch in those stores.
When I finally got, like, as I really, do my due diligence, all my homework on this, and really thinking about the industry, like, and getting above the weeds, when, it was like, wow, like when I worked for Adidas and Nike, you kind of got these blinders on, and you're just, you're going in and selling per quarter and whatever. But when you finally step back and look at it, you're like, wow, like somebody needs to do something here. The retailers are craving it. They want it. Again, I hit about, the predicament the brands are in. It's unfortunately the license is driving its scale and volume.
Yeah.
So they have to play that game. I'm not looking to sign Valencia or Barcelona. I'm looking for the one-off individual that wants to walk in and go, you know what, instead of going to and our target market's 25 to 38. Instead of that 27-year-old going, and then going maybe buying Vuori or Lululemon because they're still working out, why not buy our product that's comparable, right? Fit, color, style, but it's soccer specific, right? So you have that connection to the sport, i.e. the name of the pitch, let alone that. Now you can do that finally.
And if there's something that I know about soccer fans, whatever, they're pretty committed to the sport. These are people that love their sport. You have a lot of, you do have casual soccer fans, but like you have more casual baseball, casual football. Like, oh yeah, like I check the scores once. But like soccer fans, they get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to their local bar to watch the game that's going on in Europe. Like, so I think you definitely seem to have found something here because these are diehard folks.
Yes. Yeah, and it's not just the product, it's about brand positioning, and we're 24/7, 365 soccer. We can't go in other sports. Our name is the pitch. Like, I'm not going to be selling baseball uniforms. And that's the thing too, like these major brands, they have to be all things to everybody. Nike's got Jordan and all these different lines. They sell product for every sport that's out there, right? So they have to be good in all that. I just have to be good in one sport.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, I don't have the dollars that they have, but every waking hour, like I am thinking about the soccer consumer. How do I make my product better? We will make mistakes, but we see you, we hear you. Like that's our model is listen, experiment, innovate. Listen to you, experiment with product, and ideally innovate. And so now it's just a matter of, well, I'm here today to get exposure, let people know that we're out there, right? Because it's just it's people have to find us.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself, because obviously we're here and I met you in a local, Towson, Maryland coffee shop. Do you consider yourselves a Maryland brand? Like, you're global, right? You want to go, but like when people say like, oh, we're based in, are you based Maryland? Like, how would you consider yourself?
Yeah. I reside here in Towson, Maryland, but our headquarters is in in Delaware for different reasons.
Delaware.
Yeah, well,
Of all things.
I know.
I'm just kidding. All right. So you say you launched it. You've been working on this for years, but you launched it officially in February. I've been on your website, which is thepitchperformance.com. So you do have things on there. If I wanted to buy stuff, I could find it. So what's the next step here? You've got it out there. What is your next step as a business?
Yeah. I mean, yes, we launched, I would say we truly launched in May, June. Where we're really getting after it now is in the last month. So we're now we're in 5 doors. Could be honestly in probably about 20. But
what does that mean? Those are stores when you say
retail,
5 doors?
Yeah,
Okay.
so physical doors. And listen, it's our model was more of a D2C play, direct to consumer than retail. But what I realized is all these relationships that I have with all these soccer specialty stores around the country or in the region. These are people that I've developed relationships with, trust, friendships. And again, they're looking for something new. So let me bring it in. We want it. Now, again, we're right in front of the consumer that we're trying to go after. We're getting good feedback now. We're about to do an official launch, a pretty significant launch with the largest global distributor on the planet, soccer.com.
That's huge.
The only downside to that is, and unfortunately with websites, you don't get to touch and feel the product. You can see visually.
Of course.
So the quality, the craftsmanship that goes into that, you're only going to get that at the retail side, right? So, but yeah, I mean, that's where we're at. It's a challenge of balancing inventories and production and how much inventory. So, I wouldn't say we're thin at this point right now in terms of product being out there, but you need to be careful to make sure that you're balancing your inventories because soccer.com's a big one. And if they start selling product, right, I got to make sure I've got product set aside for these guys. Yeah. So,
got to come through.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many moving parts in a startup.
I can only imagine. When we met briefly at the coffee shop, my head just started spinning of everything. You are launching a clothing brand? How many? There's so many directions and so many things.
Yeah, I mean, God, budgets, production, tech packs to SEO, meta, all that. You name it. It's every day. It's just you're going in 10 different directions. Fortunately, I have 2 really good partners. One's has 30 years of experience in SEO. The other one actually owns a factory. So it was important that I surrounded myself with really good partners.
Yeah, sure. And it's good that you've made those contacts too in your career.
I would be honestly, I wouldn't be even sitting here with you right now if it wasn't for those guys. And I knew building this as we were building the brand, there were certain boxes that need to be checked and people that are expertise in those in those boxes that's not me. I'm not an expert in meta, and I'm not an expert in production. I could certainly sell the product. I did it forever. Yeah. But all the nuances behind the scenes with factories and minimums and runs and turns and all that, that's where my partner Jen came in. And it's also, I feel like I've been in school, just learning those aspects of the business because as the CEO, you got to be able to at least be in a room and be able to talk about it intelligently. So definitely it's been humbling at times. Sitting in that room, but that's when I just say, hey guys, that you're the expert, run with it. I'm here. I trust you, you're a partner, and if that's the best decision for the company, then let's do it. And believe me, we've made mistakes, caused some mistakes, and we'll continue to do that. I mean, it's part of the journey.
It's a business. I mean, like you just said, it's a part of the deal.
Yeah, it is. And so yeah, it's somebody had asked me, they're like, if this thing succeeds, and you look back, what are one of the key ingredients? And I said, this is going to sound really odd. You actually want to be ignorant. And he was like, what the hell does that mean? And I said, if I knew maybe at certain points in time what was going to have to be required to do this thing, it was probably better off that I was ignorant in that because sometimes I'm like, would I have actually moved forward with this?
Absolutely.
With the amount of money that goes into it. I've sunk a lot of money into this thing. All the time and effort that I put into this, things that I missed out with family. I mean, the sacrifices that I made, if I had that crystal ball and look forward, would I don't know. I should say on here right now, yeah, I would have done that. But so being ignorant and not knowing those things, to some extent has kind of been a bit of a blessing. But he just kind of laughed. He's like, actually, okay, now I understand what you're saying.
I think a lot of people don't do things because they overthink what's going to go into it. So I think you make a very valid point. The ignorance of I'm just going to do this, I think is the way is what you have to have.
Yeah. I mean, if any successful business, CEO or whatever, no, come on, man. You didn't you didn't know everything. You were going in there, you were learning at times as you went along. The key is just you don't make those mistakes a second time. You know,
you learn
and you move on.
Yep.
I mean, that's all you can do.
Bill, this is a crazy story, wild in so many different levels, and I love it. I think it's great, and I also think what's exciting about it. I think you are still a young man, but you see a lot of people that start things when they're in their 20s or whatever. Like I love that you've worked in the industry, you've worked in the business, and you've seen a lot of aspects, and that's where the idea came from, because you got to. So I think there is something with age also in this where you're like, okay, I know what I'm looking for, and I appreciate that you were willing to start something too. Like I don't know, like I think you're a couple years, just based on your story of playing in the MLS, you're a couple years older than I am, and I love it that you're at this point where you're like, I don't care, we're doing it, we're going all in. It gets harder to start things new when you've got a family and you've done all this. Like it's just harder. You need stability. So I love that you're just like, you know what? We're making this happen.
Yeah, I'm all in. I mean, it's a little late in terms of my age, but I tell people I have all this wisdom.
No, but you do. Like it's a funny thing, but you do. You really do.
Yeah. So it's hopefully that wisdom ultimately leads to success, ideally. But there's no guarantees in this. I knew going in that it's a 50-50. You know, it's almost kind of like a coin toss, right? It's some of it's luck, timing, hard work. There's so many things that go into it, but it's time will tell.
Absolutely. All right. So if people want to find out more information, the website is thepitchperformance.com. You can take a look at the line. You can see some stuff there. You can order from there as well. But you mentioned you're in a few stores. What's local here in this area that someone could go in and see it?
Yeah, we're down in an account called PJ Sports. They've been around. They've got 2 doors. We're in there, one in Bethesda, another account called Rockville Soccer down in that kind of area. We're in Springfield, Virginia, Springfield Soccer. We're in an account up in New Jersey called Soccer Zone.
Okay.
We'll be going in one more door, TBD, probably within the next week or so. I'm not really sure where we're going to land on that one. But, yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I've got other guys that I've known that are like, yeah, we'll bring the product. And I'm like, well, you need some inventory to do that. And right now I can't do that. So, we gotta remedy that one. But, that's enough.
It's a growing process.
Yeah, it is. They're little bites. You just take off little bites and they're all wins. And hopefully that leads to more doors and, more demand and more inventory and more doors and more demand and more inventory. So,
yeah. Well, one day we're going to look back at this conversation and be like, remember that time when you're like the next big thing on there? I'll be like, I talked to that guy. I'll see you on some interview, successful businessman. I'll be like, he was in my studio.
I hope so. I really do.
I feel good about it, Bill. I love your passion for this. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate all the insight into what goes into launching something like this. I think it's incredible. And thank you so much for coming by.
No, my pleasure. And thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate it.
Big thank you to Billy for his time. You can find out more about the Pitch Performance brand at their website. It's thepitchperformance.com. They also have been added to soccer.com at this point as well. And thank you to all of you for listening today. I really do appreciate your time. It means a lot to me. So until next time, be well.